friends, enemies, those as of yet undecided. Welcome back to the channel. You're watching Average Man Reviews, the show where I give my unorthodox, unprecedented, and unpaid opinion on a wide variety of subjects and products. Today, we have the gameface trion, the Dart of War, as it claims on the box. This is supposedly a competitive level blaster, and the price reflects that. It sells for $120 US on Amazon. Now, I got it on sale. That's the only reason I got one. That was a little rich for my blood, and they dropped on sale to $65, so I snagged one. Now, that price point, $120. So this is not a kid's toy. This is not a Nerf traditional style blaster like that. This isn't like the Dart Zone Dictator or the Adventure Force Nexus or anything like that that hangs out in that like $50 price range. This is considerably more. So I'm going to be expecting considerably more performance, quality, everything else out of it to justify that price point. And so far, right out of the box, one thing that stands out is just how thin this blaster is. There is not a lot of bulkiness to it. It is a very thin build. And the build quality is very nice. I mean, it feels very sturdy. I don't see any issues or imperfections on the shell. There's nothing that's janky or shakes or moves around on it. I mean, it feels solid. So as far as the features go, you have removable sights, and they do have a little ratchet mechanism thing inside of them. So they slide. They're easy to slide and adjust, but they stay put. They're not flying off of the blaster like some of the sights on other blasters I've reviewed. So that's a really nice little thing. You have a lever style magazine release, which is in a good spot. It's easy to get to. The magwell is a little flared at the bottom, which makes reloading pretty easy. It's got really good ergonomics. Now, the ergonomics are also because they copied the AR-15 style weapon system. I mean, look at it. Like it's AR-15, and in fact, it's compatible with AR-15 parts. You can take this whole mechanism off of the back and you have a buffer tube underneath, and you can put like a standard stock on it, as well as a pistol grip like you would see on an M4. I don't have any of those laying around, so I'm not going to do that right now, but the option is there. So the stock is adjustable. The stock also slides off. This is really cool. This piece comes off. I'm not going to do it right now for the review. I want to review it how it is just out of the box, but you can remove this, and it comes with spring spacers. Now, if you're not familiar with what that is, basically it's a thing that you put in front of the spring, and it makes the spring compress more so you get more power out of that spring. Now, it comes with two of them, so you can put those in there and boost it up to a pretty hefty performance. Now, like I said, I'm going to keep it stock because it's already supposed to hit. It's supposed to hit 130 out of the box, with the potential to go up to 160 or 200 FPS. So it's got some power. I should put that piece back on. There we go. I like keeping it fully extended. That's where it's comfortable for me. Now, it is hard to get a proper cheek weld because of how high this piece sits up. So if I take that piece off, I can get low enough on this to get a proper cheek weld and line up the sights. But this sits up so high that it gets in the way of doing that. So it would definitely benefit from a scope or something like that that rises the sights up a little bit. Now, the other thing I'm not a super big fan of is the pump action. They didn't go with a traditional foregrip, they went with an angled one, which feels nice. However, because of that style, you can't really wrap your hand around it. You have to kind of have the floating thumb method here. I don't feel like you get as good of a grip on the foregrip that way. I would have preferred either a straight grip that you can grab or like a shotgun style pump action. That's just me though. That's just the ergonomics that I'm used to, is just a standard straight foregrip or just the normal C-clamp rifle grip kind of thing. So I'm not a big fan of this. I might just get like a 3D printed one because I know there is a huge aftermarket market for these with other parts and different grips and stuff like that. So I may change that as time goes on. The internals, from what I can see, are metal. We have a nice red metallic barrel inside. We have a little safety button right here. And, oh, I was going to say I haven't shown the box yet, but also has a removable muzzle brake, which is pretty cool. Let's talk about the box. So this is the box. Front, back, and it opens up and the dart blaster sits right inside there. Notable things on the box. I mentioned it earlier, but it shows right here that it does 130 to 160 to 200 FPS. Oh, I didn't even know that. I didn't notice that. That's pretty cool. So I forget that these things even exist because I'm used to Picatinny style, or Picatinny, however you want to say it, tack rails. But there are these things called M-LOK tack rails, and they fit into spaces like this. I didn't even think about it. I assumed this was like a cool looking heat shield cutout, but actually it's so that you can pop M-LOK rails onto it so you could have accessories on the sides like a flashlight or a laser or what have you. So that's pretty cool that it's got M-LOK accessory mounts. But there's not a whole lot else to talk about. I mean, one thing if I didn't mention is the magazine. One side of it is clear, so you can see how many darts you have in it, which that's a really nice feature. Like I mentioned earlier, it has a lot of just cool little quality of life type modifications that you don't see on as many blasters. So it does seem like they did their research and really tried to make something for the competitive scene. So now I would say we take this outside and see if its performance matches everything else, because so far it's pretty impressive. So let's see if the performance lines up with that and does $120 worth of performance. I said performance like 6 times in the last like 10 seconds, but whatever. Let's go. So I have the magazine loaded up with 10 of these little blue darts that it comes with. It comes with 15. It's a 15 round magazine, but I'm just always worried about spring tension on mags, so I don't typically fill them up to the maximum just because I don't like my blasters jamming when I put too many darts in the magazine, so we're just going to play it safe. Now I'm going to use the air conditioner as a stable firing platform. I've got my target set up at 35 feet, and we're going to see what we get. What the hell? All right, and it just jammed. Try that again. All right, so not very good with the darts that it came with. However, we had a couple of shots that just veered off and went wherever the hell they wanted. So I have a theory that's because they're gameface darts, and I just don't think that they're high quality. Might be totally wrong, but I have a feeling they're not very good. They didn't feel very good when I was messing with them. So we're going to try the red Adventure Force darts and see if we get anything better. All right, I got 10 red darts loaded up. Let's see what we get. And I'm gonna skip the air conditioner this time. It didn't feel very comfortable to shoot from. All right, so that was much better. No jams. I think we had one shot that veered off, but all the others not only hit the target, they hit pretty close to where I was aiming. I think we hit the bullseye a couple of times, and I believe one of them got stuck in the target. Let me check. Yeah, one of the darts got stuck in the target. All right, another 10 shots loaded up. Let's see if we get similar performance. All right, so far, I'm pretty impressed. It's got good groupings, it shoots well. Aside from using the ammunition it came with, I haven't had a jam or anything like that. So I think the last thing to test is to see how far it can actually shoot. Let's move over to the shed side and see what happens. I'll be firing at the shed, which is 100 feet away. Most of the blasters that claim to be competitive performance blasters will boast that they can hit like 120 feet away. So this one actually didn't mention its range. It mentioned its FPS, but not its range. So I'm assuming it's in the same category and can reach out and hit a target at like 100 feet, but we'll find out. So let's see what happens. So, a little bit of an angle, but it can hit 100 feet. That's a little bit more of a little bit, but nonetheless, it does have the capability to hit 100 feet. Fired flat, they were dropping at about 80 feet, which is still pretty good for a flat shot. So without further ado, and without doing any further, let's step inside and talk about it, shall we? All right, after action review, what do we think? I'm pretty impressed with it. I mean, it's got really nice build quality. It's got good performance. The price is the only thing that's a little up there. At 120, I mean, that's not terrible for a performance blaster, but when you have stuff like a Nexus Pro, the Dictator, the long shot, the X-Shot long shot, stuff like that, that depending on you and what you're into, it might be a better value for you to upgrade a cheaper blaster, just because the performance on this was good, but it was not incredible. It's not like it hit the same spot every time. There was slight inconsistencies between shots. Still really good groupings. Still really good. I mean, at 35 feet, it still hit the target. Hit pretty solid groups, but again, it wasn't like incredible, right? It was like 8 out of 10 performance. It wasn't 10 out of 10 perfect laser beam, like anything of that nature. 120 bucks might not be much to some people in the hobby. I'm sure somebody in the comments is gonna be like, oh, this guy's an idiot. My 3D printed blaster costs $300. Good for you, you know? That's great. For me, I tend to stick with the cheaper stuff because I'm cheap. I like cheap stuff. So this is my first like competition grade expensive blaster, and I don't know. I'm impressed, but I'm not overwhelmed, is what I would put it at. I am satisfactorily whelmed by its performance, if that makes any sense. But yeah, as far as if you should get it, I mean, if it's on sale, dude, for 60 bucks, it's a steal. At full price, I'd say it's still worth the cost. But again, it's going to depend on you, your tax bracket, and what you look for out of a blaster. With the ability to change its performance, that puts you where you can go into some higher blaster leagues with games that do 200 FPS limits and stuff like that. So it's got a lot of options. It's a, like I said, great build quality, good ergonomics. I mean, it's a good blaster. Again, I'm not a fan of rating systems, but when I do use a rating system, it's because something has impressed me quite a bit. So I would put it at like an 8 out of 10. And that's out of the box stock performance. You can do stuff out of the box, like the spacers, to make it perform even better. And then there's a huge, huge market, like I mentioned before, of aftermarket stuff that you can do to it. So with all that in mind, yeah, I'd say it's worth it. And one thing, I forgot to mention this earlier, but it is compatible with the magazines that go with like Adventure Force, Dart Zone, and stuff like that. So you can use those, which is nice because it only comes with one magazine. That would be probably the only other thing I would critique as far as if you wanted to get something right out of the box and be able to play. Magazines can't be but so expensive, right? Like they can't be but so expensive. For 120, they could have put 2 magazines. That's like the main critique that I can put with it, because one mag is not going to get you through a game. So out of the box, unless you're trying to fire 15 shots and then hand load a magazine from darts in your pocket, it's not exactly war ready, so to speak. Which is funny because they're selling it as the Dart of War, as it says on the box, but it's not fully ready for a war right out of the box. Unless you're, you know, that sniper kind of guy that's going to play the match with 15 shots and every one of them is going to hit a target. Like, good on you if that's you, but it definitely ain't me. I need a little more ammunition. So, all that in mind, I like it. I think it's worth it. I think it's a good blaster. So yeah, hopefully this has given you what you need to know as far as if it's worth buying or not. I thank you for sticking with me this far into the video. If you liked it, please drop a like or comment. It actually does help the channel quite a bit. I'm still a fairly small channel and trying to grow, so your support does mean quite a bit to me. So without anything else, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. So until next time, Average Man Reviews, signing off.